Guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Morning, Yogesh.
Good morning. Good morning. I think we can get started. Kind of little slow start today. 5 minutes past. I see Drew is here. Hey, Drew, Mita. Good morning. Jongmin, Hank.
Morning.
Okay, Drew is joining from two places, it seems. While we are still gathering people, any opens? Yes, not. So, Drew, can you hear us? Hear me, rather? Okay, Drew is having audio problems. Right. No opens. I can start sharing and we can start going through the document while Drew figures out what's going on his end. You're almost at the tail end of it now. It's good news. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, Drew. I just started sharing. You guys see what I'm sharing?
I'm sorry if you said something earlier and I didn't respond. My computer's messed up.
Yeah.
We booted up, so I was frantically getting everything working again.
Yeah, I was seeing two of you, so I figured there's something going on there. So yeah, I didn't. There are no opens. I think Drew, we are almost at the tail end of this requirements doc. What I'll do is one more reminder: if you are contributing, feel free to add your name or send me a note if you want me to do that or to. Executive summary still needs to be written. This is all standard template stuff. I don't know if we updated the table of content. How does it work in this Google Docs? Do you know? Does it update automatically, or you had to kind of?
It should. Yeah, there's if you right click and scroll down, there's an update table of contents option. Well, you got to right click and then scroll. See the scroll bar on the right of the menu? Yeah, there you go. Update table of contents.
Okay. All right. Okay, so where are we? We got the first part all the way to chapter 7, section 7, output of the system fault analyzer. Is that right?
I think so. I'm scrolling.
Yeah.
It looked like Owen had a bunch of comments up above.
Oh, okay, that's great. That's great.
But we were.
Good.
You were doing. Oh, and I'm sorry. I need to update the FM error handling flow examples.
Yeah, those are the. I think one of the major. Chapter 8 is one of the main one that's left. It'll take some work. Rest, we had to think hard about this appendix ABC. This one is part of what you're doing. SPD analog example is part of the flow example. So this RFN content, you can take a look at it. If it has a place in section 8, we can do that and then get rid of the rest of the RFN content. That's cleanup work. It's basically dumping ground for whatever we don't know where it belongs. So that's good. with that, you want to start sharing and going through the comments because you've been driving it. I like that.
Either way, I mean, you can do it just as well as me, or I'm happy to. Whatever works for you, Yogesh.
Go ahead. You are on a roll. I think you're keeping
Okay.
very good pace. I don't want to risk that. Yeah. So I'm going to stop
Okay.
sharing. I just wanted
And
to kind of orient ourselves where we are, kind of fashion, and then yeah,
yeah,
let's
let's
get.
look through the comments, get as many resolved, and then what I'll maybe if we have time at the end, we can start an example and talk
Okay.
about what we want to see as an example, and then it'll be, then I can just repeat whatever we think is sufficient detail.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, I will. Here's the doc, and I just went up to the first comments. Um, so I'm going to get rid of this tab. Let's see. There we go. Now things fit better. Um, so this is interesting. Owen was proposing things, I think, as if it's a JSON file. Um, that's fine because that can be how it gets decoded. But I guess it is if it's gathered in CPR, it'll be gathered however it works for the SOC vendor, and then when we decode it, we'll want it to be easy to find. Um, what do you all think about adding that? I guess I'd like to think about how do we use the schema ID column.
So the last time I think Owen, had come to one of the meetings and he had proposed a JSON format that 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 was the result of decoding the CPR, right?
Okay.
And I think this column is just tying the two things together. Probably his JSON format is at the end of the document, as far as I remember. Or maybe
I
it's
mean,
in a separate document. I'm not sure either.
I'll take a look real quick. Sorry for the fast scrolling. Oh, yeah.
There is a mock-up JSON, but that might be Carlos's one. I think Owen's was in a separate document, maybe. Oh yeah, Appendix D, Micron Memory Analyzer, logs, JSON schema, right at the end.
Okay. So, and consider adding a code block macro. Yeah, sure. That sounds good. Oh, so I think the code block macro is just something in Google Docs that helps you format things as like a fixed font, and often it'll have a colored background or something to set some text off as code, or like a gray background, light gray background. So, um, is someone from Micron here? Okay, I'm going to say, I'm just going to give Owen a comment. And I don't have his email address here, but okay. I don't mind pasting him in for him. Okay, so that makes sense. And so what we probably just need to do is document that column. And maybe I'll say for decoded Is that okay with you all if I just say something like that? I'm going to take no feedback as acceptance, and I'll just accept this.
Oh, sorry, I was muted and also trying to send you Owen's email, which is in the chat now. But yeah.
Oh, thank you. Okay, sorry. I'm going to zip to the end here again. That didn't work. Well, there. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so back to this. So this sounds, yeah, I think we should, I'll just double check the names really quick. Installed firmware looks good to me. System info, I would call it, I think we should call it system memory config. Because system info could be anything.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I'm going to say, okay. Installed memory makes sense to me. And if anyone has a concern, I'm just gonna, go through these quickly and try to accept them. But if y'all don't, if you see something I missed, please speak up. Primordial boot DT. I guess he means date time, like in Python. That's fine with me. I'll accept it unless someone has a concern. Current boot date time. The nice thing about Python date times is they do have a time zone, so they're unambiguous. But I hope we can make them unambiguous, from the source. PMIC boot registers. I mean, that's fine with me.
For that last one, is it a boot register or an error log?
PMIC error log would be better, I think. Yeah.
Well, okay, maybe boot log, a boot error log then, because it is boot. How about that? This is all gathered.
It happens at boot is what you mean by it is, or it describes the boot process.
Yeah. Yeah, these are all boot related too. Like, did power good come up?
Okay.
Okay, that's good feedback. Yeah, I don't really like the word offset registers here because it's, offset of what? I mean, is there some way? I kind of know what these are. It was
Are these
like
just mode registers? And so just called mode registers?
they are mode. Oh yeah, MR. Yeah, it's mode registers, but they're voltage offsets, aren't they? I don't know. Maybe a memory expert can help us with what DCA DFE. and BREF DQ offset are?
Do we have other mode registers somewhere else? I mean, if not,
Oh yeah, we do. A lot
oh,
of,
we do. Okay, so, I mean, in some other row, I'm saying.
yeah, we do.
Okay, okay.
I'm not a DRAM expert, but these mode register numbers 42, 43, 44, they look like they're something out of a JEDEC spec for a specific generation of DRAM.
Oh, they are. They absolutely are. That's pretty much what any mode register is.
So
Right, but
Mm.
yeah, go
So,
ahead.
yeah, instead of offset register, yeah, probably just a DRAM mode register would be better, I think.
Well, but like if I go, so are none of these mode registers below?
So this is the reason why DRAM, yeah, we need to call DRAM mode register.
Okay, but I guess what I was curious about was what do these mode registers contain? What is DCA, DFE, and
This is like the duty cycle adjustment, yeah, and DFE is kind of equalizer setting, and the other one is the right BREF over the DRAM side.
so maybe it's the okay,
DRAM
so,
setting, yes.
yeah, DRAM settings or something, yeah.
Yeah, DRAM mode register would be the better, I think. Yeah, like the fourth column.
But don't we have other the problem I see with that is don't we have other
Mode register too generic. Why don't we leave a comment for Owen to add more details to those? Leave it at what it was right now, offset. Just say, hey, can you add more details to what this offset are for? What those DCA, DFE, how they work, and a little bit more detailed
It
context
may
to
be a
that.
little wordy, but I think the intent here is DRAM offset config register.
well it looks like I mean the VR DFQ offset, but the one of them was duty cycle, right? DCA. So it's really DRAM channel settings.
They're all offsets, Drew.
Okay.
That's true. The offsets for those.
So it should
parameters
it should yeah it
for
should start with
channel
DRAM,
manipulation.
right? It should start with
Okay,
DRAM
sorry.
because they are DRAM specific. It's a DRAM offset registers you can call it. DRAM
Okay.
offset config register.
I mean, if we just say DRAM offset registers, that's probably good, right?
Yeah, it's good.
That's good.
Yeah, just adding the DRAM.
Yeah.
I still feel like we need to add a little bit more details there. I mean, unless people already know what those are for and which.
Yeah, and is there a reason we're calling these out specifically? And is it generic to all DRAM generations? Or is this just an example?
We're doing DDR5 right now, so this
Okay.
is,
Okay, DDR, got it. Thanks.
But then in that case, we should somehow differentiate with the DDR5 because what in the future, let's say we want to add in the spec, right, for let's say DDR6 or LPDDR, then we don't want to call this generic name like this.
it'll be okay because we'll use a lot of these again. I mean, I assure you, installed firmware is relevant to every DRAM generation going forward, right? So the key will be that when we wrap these up, we'll just have to say this is a DDR5 decoding, and here are all the DDR5 values, and then there'll be a DDR6 decoding, and DDR6 can use the same things. It can use the same fields. In fact, many of the fields will likely be the same, but we'll know it because it's in a DDR6 decoding.
And also, I think at the start of the document somewhere we've said that this version of the spec is mostly focused on DDR5.
Yeah, and then we'll get to the others. We're just starting with DDR5, exactly.
So actually, I'm still have one question. So these are mode registers, but I don't see any other rows. At least I don't see any other rows which have mode registers, unless I don't know how to.
Not in boot time, but in runtime, I think we did.
Oh, okay, okay.
But
Okay.
but the mode register, yeah, see
Oh,
DDR5,
yes. Yeah, I think, yes, I see
ECS is
that.
done in mode registers, right? And like when you do a PPR, you set some mode registers to
Okay,
do
yeah,
the
I missed
PPR stuff.
this column, this row. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I was a little bit uncomfortable with just calling them mode registers, is because we use mode registers for lots of things in memory, right? And so anyway, I like this. DRAM offset registers is great. Okay, RCD control words. I think that's fine. Buffer control words. Okay, it's a little generic, but the data, maybe data buffer. I don't know. Yeah, data buffer is a specific thing. So if you know memory, you'd know what that was. And I just don't know if buffer is specific enough, because there are other buffers related to memory. What do you all think?
Yeah, data buffer would be better, I think.
Okay. Training event logs. That makes sense to me. I'm open. Does anyone else have a suggestion, or is this okay?
Seems like there is typo for the slot. Yeah, the second column. Value team location next to channel.
Let's see. Oh yeah, I don't know what that is.
Slot.
Oh, slot. Okay, thank you. Well, that makes more sense.
So training event logs, the first column maybe also just can be called then training event logs instead of training failure logs and training event logs.
Okay. Sounds good to me. Thank you. That was really excellent feedback. Okay, installed processors. Sounds fine to me.
Isn't this more like a metadata field?
Well, and like if we go back up to the memory, we have installed memory. So and installed firmware. So oh, and Anil's here, so we can talk about this too. So I don't know. I mean, I was thinking these are all metadata. We could call it firmware metadata if you prefer. But I thought installed was kind of it's useful. I mean, like when I see installed, I'm like, okay, this will tell me about what's installed.
No, I'm not worried about the installed part of it. It's about this is not the data there is not about the CPU. It's about the ECC mode and the memory itself. Right? The data in that field is not referring to the CPU itself.
Oh, I see what
It's,
you're saying. I saw the CPU specific metadata, but then I didn't pay attention to ECC mode. You're right.
yeah, so that's why that's why I would like it comes from the CPU vendor, but that's the only commonality. It's not
It's
CPU
not.
data.
Yeah. So maybe we can do processor configuration. Or?
The reason why I think like processor metadata is like it's this processor specific configuration or vendor specific configuration type of what I think we want to put here.
So you're saying processor metadata would be a better name?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, based on what you're saying, that makes sense.
Or is it memory controller specific? Not even, it's specifically the memory controller part of the processor, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I should say memory controller metadata?
Yeah, I think it should be memory controller instead of processor.
Yeah, sounds better. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense because in case of memory behind CXL type 3, right?
Oh, that's a really good point, Anil.
Yeah.
And
So actually, we need to change that first column.
Yeah, I was thinking that you read my mind as the cursor went over there. Yes. Okay.
And we're using metadata here in terms of also encompassing kind of the ECC code as well as additional metadata.
Yeah, there can be ECC modes. Like you can have,
Yeah.
you know, like a different the same chip may optimize for, you know, detection of corruption or optimize for corrections. You know, some CPUs have settings, and
And by the way, does poison fit in the metadata piece?
well, poison is I mean it should be whether it's enabled or not,
Yeah.
probably, but I mean we pretty much always want it enabled these days. Um, I mean, if you're not using poison, you're risking silent data corruption because uh, we don't have a reset wire that's able to reset things like we did when we had buses, right? We have these meshes and there's
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What I was kind of getting at was, so in the DDR6, the JEDEC DDR6 task group, the ECC bits are talked about separately from the metadata bits. So they're kind of the DDR6 task group is thinking of separate bits being used. But here it looks like we're putting ECC bits under the metadata bit.
well, these aren't the bits necessarily. These are the modes. So you have these bits that are stored in the DRAM, and the reason they're talking about metadata bits and ECC bits is that there's historically been a competition. In fact,
Yes.
eCal at Google has a really funny picture of Pirates of the Caribbean, where you have reliability people, memory people, and security people all pointing guns at each other over a treasure, and the treasure chest is ECC bits. And
Yeah.
okay, so what they're doing and is trying to reserve some make sure we protect ECC, but also enable these other things to be done. But this is different. Those are just the bits stored in memory. This is how does the memory controller use those bits, and there can be different settings. You can optimize your ECC for different goals. So the same CPU could have settings that optimize for detection of corruption, or a setting that optimizes to correct more, or you could have advanced double device data correction modes, or you know, and so this is really ECC mode more than, so that's why poison enabled, sure, but um, this is different than the bits in the DRAM. It's really what does the memory controller do with the bits.
Understood. Yeah, my question was around the first column is memory controller metadata. Would it be better to say memory controller ECC slash metadata config? This is really what we're talking about, right?
How about we call it memory controller specific configuration metadata?
Yeah, that would be great. And by the way, please send me that that picture of the Pirates of the Caribbean. I'd like to share that with the DDR6 task group
I don't have access to it
when we
anymore.
get on to the metadata arguments and the carve-outs.
I'll ask Yi if he'll send it to. Yeah, I'll ask Yi and his manager if he'll send it to me.
Great.
I'm not at Google anymore, so but it was a great.
Oh,
picture.
that's right. Yes.
But he made that picture, and it just encapsulated the discussion so well. So I'll see if I
Yeah.
can get it. Yeah, but it is a great picture. If not, I can make it because it's a meme. You know, it's easy to find. Okay, so then back up to this thing. Oh, let's see, RCD control words. That seems pretty descriptive to me. So I'm gonna accept that. I'm gonna go back up. And Neil, I didn't mean to ignore your comment. I just didn't realize you were here. So host ID. So I think Anil, what we're thinking is with the RAS API, we do want to do that, but it's a tag that says this particular SoC or this particular GPU or this particular whatever uh, and it's an kind of an instance ID that is unique to that particular piece of silicon, like that instance of silicon. And so the reason that's useful is that if I get error logs and I have that embedded in the error logs, then if someone replaces it, so let's say I had a GPU that had errors, but the customer was picky and noticed it pretty quickly and insisted on a replacement, because that might happen. I might then get another error log from the GPU, from the new one, and maybe I just get unlucky and there's a radiation strike. Well, I don't, that could push me over some threshold if I can't detect that the GPU's changed. But if I have this instance ID, I'd have I have time series error logs with the old instance ID, and then I'd have a new error log with a new instance ID, and I'd know that uh, they're not associated in the silicon. I could, however, say, oh, in some cases, let's say the errors continue, like replacing the part didn't do the trick. Now what's common is the slot ID. So, we say, oh, we changed the part, we continue to get error logs, we can see that in the stream of CPERS. Now I know that it's probably not the part, it's the slot. Something's going on in the system that's causing, this piece of hardware to generate errors. So I agree with it. We need this. Um, I don't know who, like maybe we should put a note that we want the overall CPER to have that, but I don't know that that needs to be in the memory CPER, and that's what I want to probe a little. Like I would say, you've got a high-level CPER error log that says, I'm an error log from a thing, and I think that should have the host ID or error ID or asset ID, and the memory sections don't necessarily have to. So Neil, what do you think?
So you're saying that this particular data set has to be encapsulated within another data set which has a host ID. Is that what you're saying?
Well, so imagine a CPER error log. You have a CPER header, and then you have section headers. And so what we're saying in the OCP FMFM effort is that we're defining the CPER section headers for DDR5 memory errors. And so, like in a CPER record, I have a chip that detected an error, and it might have detected other errors. I might just get unlucky. Maybe I saw one case where someone attached a server to the same power line as a printing press, and we got some pretty weird errors and we would get really weird error logs from that because of the noisy power. And so imagine I have a CPU error log and a memory controller error log. Both of those need to have the host ID. So if they're in the same CPER log. And so what I'm saying is I think the CPER wrapper has to have this. I agree with you that we need it. I think the wrapper has it, and the memory controller error records don't necessarily need to, because we'll be able to trace it. It'll be in the same CPER log. It'll just be in the header.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Does anybody has CPER spec? I'm not sure that the header actually has a asset ID or host ID there.
It has a creator ID, and so Carlos and I are working on that in RAS API because here's the problem. With RAS API, I need to discover an endpoint. I need to say, oh, I've got a new error source. Do I have an analyzer for it? So I need to recognize kind of what it is and who made it. And if I don't have an analyzer, I need to say, okay, hey chip maker, give me your analyzer. Then once I have their analyzer, I need a way to associate the CPERs I get from that endpoint with that analyzer. And then when the analyzer gives me CPADs, I need a way to associate the CPADs back with the RAS API endpoint. We've got to be able to discover the endpoint, make sure we have an analyzer, and then make that full round trip. And so we're driving this as part of RAS API because it's crucial for that round trip. But I mean, so like I'm saying, I strongly agree we need this. I just think it goes in the wrapper, and it's what Carlos and I are trying to define. And we're going to take those existing CPER fields and and see how we associate them with the endpoint in the CPAD. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a bigger problem. It's a universal problem, not just for memory.
Yeah, actually, I'm just looking at right now. There's a platform ID, there's a partition ID, creator ID.
Yeah.
The only thing is these are 16 bytes. 16 byte. Yeah, that should be good enough. Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Well,
So we
we're
should.
trying to, but the problem is those fields aren't very like crisply defined in CPER, and so we want to. That's what Carlos and I were looking at, and we'd like to work with the RAS API folks to associate those fields, and if we need a new field, we'll add it with something in the RAS API endpoint and in the CPER. So like our CPAD, a CPAD should have the same identifier fields in it as the CPERs and as the RAS API endpoint.
Mhm.
So we just need a consistently defined set of fields that allow us to discover endpoints and discover analyzers and make the round trip.
Yep.
I'm not pushing back on what you want. I'm just saying I don't think the memory spec is the place to do it. I think we need to do it in RAS API 4 because we're going to need it for CPU errors just as badly as we need it here.
So then wouldn't these three fields be part of? Yeah, but the header will not have this memory configuration.
Well, no. So you're right. So imagine this stuff you're suggesting goes in the overall CPER wrapper. You have a CPER heading, and then the CPER heading tells me I've got so many sections, and some of the sections might be DDR5. Well, hopefully one section.
No, that's okay, Drew. What I'm asking is that these three lines, are we suggesting to have part of this DDR error log section?
I don't know. Like, we need to think about that. That's a good call. We probably need. So this is kind of looked at from a memory perspective. I think DIM installed, the first one, is clearly memory related, right? Like directly associated with the memory. It is memory. The other two, if we repeat them in the section, it's probably not the end of the world, but I don't know. It's a good point.
I mean, the platform firmware, for example, right? I mean, that firmware it'll be, a firmware version will be used for multiple things, not just for this. And so it has to be wrapped around in a, at the platform configuration log or configuration inventory, right? Like in you can, through the Redfish, you can query what platform inventory is, right? So in there you'll get all these details.
Well, I think like the number of loaded DIMMs per channel, and like this stuff is, these are pretty clearly memory. But I agree, this and the
No,
number.
but they are not. These are not associated. So this whole log is associated with a specific error, right?
No, this is well, it's collected at boot time. So I don't know.
Boot time data logging. So it's like one time collecting and then saving somewhere, is it?
Yeah. Well, so what if we do the time series thing that I've been talking about, this would be in the flow. So what you would do is you would, if you needed to see this information, you would look back in the error log history and get it.
Yeah, let's keep it for now. Let me think about it.
Yeah, I think you're right. So maybe here's what we're proposing too, because I think we're going to have some details along those lines we have to work out, especially if you don't reboot your machine in the last 90 days and you've asked for 90 days worth of logs. So I think what I propose is let's agree on what we want to capture first, and that's kind of what this version of the spec's goals were, is that for this version of the spec, we're agreeing on the data we want to capture. And so maybe in that spirit, I'll add, what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, Anil, is add a note saying we're going to capture the identity of the source in the CPR log, and work that out. Yeah, but and that will be that's defined in the RAS API. So I'd like to just put a note for that, and then we'll say this is what we want to collect, and then in the next version of the spec, I think that's going to be one of the key challenges, is saying, how do I create a stateless analyzer that can crash at any moment, but still can get the last boot zero log? And it may be that the cloud service provider always needs to keep the last boot information somewhere for a machine and pass that to the analyzer also, along with the error logging secrets. So I think we need to work that out. What do you think?
Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, we need to kind of think through a little more here.
I agree with you. We definitely need to think it through some more.
I think what you just said is a mandatory, in the sense that you will have other information, like, for example, the ECS data or things like that, that you might have to store somewhere in the cloud, and then complement the CPR record before you send it to the analyzer.
But the CPR is a little bit, or the ECC is, or sorry, ECS data is a little bit easier in that it's collected once a day. And so as long as the analyzer asks for one or more days worth of errors, you'll in the history, when we send the time series, you'll get it. So that one's
I see.
that one's pretty
Yeah.
straightforward, because you gather it daily. So I might not, if you asked for 90 days worth of errors and you wanted to see the ECS data from a year ago, you're out of luck. But you'll still get it. You still get the last 90 days worth. But the problem is that I might reboot the machine once every 6 months. So if I only collect the boot time CPRs when and save them for the same 90 days I'm saving the rest of the error logs, then you might not get them. You might not get this boot data. So that's where I think we're going to have a special. We're going to have to think about special handling to ensure that we have boot configuration information.
Okay, I see. And by the way, in the boot data that you showed, and I can see how the second and third row are memory relevant, in the sense that errors are not restricted to one memory address. So interleaving means you might need the whole memory configuration.
Yeah.
But I agree with Anil, the firmware does look a little bit more of like, and the number of CPUs does look a little bit more of a RAS API thing.
Yeah. The identity of the sender as defined in the RAS API. I'll call it the OCP RAS API. So that we can associate silicon logs. Analyzers as CPRs and CPRs. I'll say. And then Okay, so Anil, we're gonna have to work that out. But I tried to capture, that we need to have identities that allow us to make the round trip. So I hope that's okay.
Instead of
Mhm.
sender,
Yeah.
is it like error source? The sentence just typed, identity of the
Oh,
error.
sure. Identity of the, yeah, that's good. I like it.
And then just quickly before we move on, for this table boot time data logging, there's a column called log format, which is pretty much empty all the way through. Do we need that column?
Oh, good call. I don't know why. Yeah.
I mean, the format is all this all. I mean, the format used actually is all CPR, right?
Yeah.
So
So we probably don't need a column if we're not having like different formats for different roles.
yeah,
Okay.
unless there is a specific mapping within the CPR we want to call out.
I think the key is that when we decode this, like, the vendors figure out how to capture the data. When they decode it, we can find it. And that's kind of why we have schema IDs. So,
Yeah, but somewhere we need to define, because we are adding a bunch of these fields, right? So we probably have to define a unique UID for the CPR log, right?
well, but no. So Anil, the CPR log will have whatever format the vendor that works for the vendor, because they may capture it different ways. But the key is that when we decode the JSON, it's consistent. So, Intel has a certain set of registers, AMD has a different set of registers, but you can process those registers to get those things. And so they'll gather it however works for them. And then when it's decoded, that's what's consistent.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, Drew, like, since we are saying that this is going to be part of CPR binary data, uh, typically there'll be like a byte-aligned sequence of data. Generated.
Maybe it could be they could make it a embedded protobuf. It could be encrypted. It could be stored in, EBDIC or whatever the text, the text compression format is. So the format in the CPR is up to the supplier, but the decoded has to be consistent.
This is like a binary blob.
So this is, now think of abstractly. This is what we want to log at boot time. How they transport it and how they get it to us, and because they may have other data that they want to capture. Like if someone has a magic uh, signal integrity analyzer for DIMMs, they may add to the boot time error logging and say, hey, here's some really cool stuff I discovered about the channel. That's not going to fit into any standard CPR. So CPR will have the data that um, that we want, but it won't have it in a standard format. But when we decode it, we'll be able to use the decoded data consistently. And that's like a fundamental principle of the RAS API, right? Is that you don't, it's the data is proprietary, the plumbing is not, and the decoded information is useful. So you follow that? Okay, I'm gonna close this comment because I typed that stuff up above, and I agree we've got to work on this, but we'll work on it in the RAS API and tie it to this. if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Oh, wow. Good. That's cool. Thank you. But I guess this is really good information. What do we do with the comment? I mean, shouldn't we just put the comment into the description?
If you want, you can ignore it. It was just more for my curiosity. It's just I just wanted to make sure I understand the intent of those bits. Looks like all signal integrity related and duty cycle. It's fine if you want to put it in the last column. DRAM offset registers, because I think that's like a comment column where you can
No,
have.
that's the name of the schema. So
I see. This is
what I would do
yeah.
is I'd put it here in this column, which is the description of what we want.
Right, and that's what exactly what Owen said too. I just you know went to spec and tried to see what it is basically.
I'm just gonna let's see. I'll just put it here because that was useful. Oops.
Nice.
Okay. Well, that's actually useful. Thank you, Yogesh. I mean, we know what those are now. That's very helpful. Thank you. Okay. Back to this. So, I mean,
Hey Drew, is this the boot time, or we are still in boot time, or we are entering runtime now? Because I
no,
think we have like 4 minutes left. You might want to clean up some other
okay.
comments.
Well, let's talk. Yeah, if it's okay, then let's jump down to these use cases, and I turn them into. So what I'm thinking is, like, but what do you all want to see here? I was imagining just typing out like a series of steps, like, uh, you know, error is log, and we analyze the error, and then but we're not sure because it's all, with one error it's kind of hard to tell. Error another error is log, and I was thinking I was just going to write up a sequence like that. Maps to the same row address. See a pattern over a series, and so I'm trying to leave it a little bit open-ended because I'm not trying to tell the memory vendors how to recognize a row error. Generally, you need more than one to do it. So that's why I'm like, well, look, I'm going to look at the pattern, and you see a pattern, and decide that we need PPR, and then send. I'm going to elaborate this more, but and have details about how the time series works and stuff. But I was going to write text like this, and then send CPAD to machine with the row to repair. So does something like that work for these scenarios, or would you like, I mean, do I need to make it fancier with pictures, or would text descriptions be okay?
I think text is fine.
Yeah, and if we need pictures, then others can also we others can also contribute if needed.
Okay. Well, I can write up a few of these as kind of a starting point for the next discussion, if that's okay. And then what I'll do is write up 2 or 3 of them, and then if we like what they look like, then we can maybe divide the rest of them up and we can do something similar. And if we don't like them, then we'll change them to what we like, and then hopefully we can divide them up and do something similar to what we like. How does that sound to y'all?
Putting a lot of work on your shoulders, Drew.
Yeah, I don't mind it because I got it kind of off the top of my head. So I'm happy to do kind of a stream of consciousness dump here, and then if as long as y'all are willing to help me clean it up, because like today I was writing things and just didn't see. I'm
I
like
think that's good,
wouldn't
Drew. Divide and conquer. Let's do it. Let's get it on. Yep.
Okay, well I'll do a couple, and then once we like them, we can divide them up more.
Sounds good.
For the
All
for
right,
the
folks.
for the PPR
Go ahead, Randy,
PPR,
sorry.
typically the way I call that out is determine a permanent row failure. How do you determine is up to the
Hey
implementation.
guys, I need to switch calls now, so I'll talk to you in 2 weeks.
Okay. So Neil, I'm gonna give a little bit more than that, but it will definitely be up to the memory vendors to figure that out. I'm not gonna be that specific. It just usually takes more than one error, so I can
Right.
say that with confidence. I'll be
Hey, Drew,
open.
make sure to end the call when you leave. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. But Anil, if you have concerns, we need to move our one-on-one. If you can move our one-on-one, maybe we can chat about it, and I can make sure I'm consistent with what you're thinking.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.